We bring in Mike Tannenbaum, former general manager in the NFL. Let's follow up with that, Mike. How is Aaron Rodgers supposedly holding the Steelers hostage?
Well, if you're the Steelers, you just traded for DK Metcalf, Dan. You gave him $30 million a year and a second-round pick, and your plan is not to throw the ball from Mason Rudolph to George Pickens and DK Metcalf. I'm sure they're sitting there thinking, like, it's not ideal, but if we go with Russell Wilson, we'll go with Russell Wilson. But Aaron Rodgers gives us a chance to get to where we want to go. Last year, Dan, they averaged 14 points per game over their last 5 games.
Okay, but how does Minnesota factor into all of this? And is it Minnesota who's holding the Steelers hostage?
I think that's right. And that's astounding to me. First of all, you and I have been around the sport a long time. Can you ever remember a team losing 3 quarterbacks in the period of 10 days? Nick Mullins, Daniel Jones, and Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell must be, the modern day quarterback whisperer. It's really remarkable. I think it's different, though, in terms of bringing in Aaron Rodgers. If you and I were running the Vikings, it all would be about what's the best situation for J.J. McCarthy. And I don't understand how Aaron Rodgers fits that bill.
But if you're the Steelers, why don't you just say to Aaron Rodgers, we need a decision by today? Like, we have to move on here. We want you, but I need to know how much you want us. And maybe he's telling the Steelers, I may want you, but I really want that Minnesota situation better than this. Or, it's a better opportunity, a higher ceiling there.
Dan, look, like, you don't have to be hypothetical. That's what's happening right now, because why else would Aaron Rodgers be waiting? And I agree with you 100%. Take you into Omar Khan, GM of the Steelers. Look, Aaron, we are signing Russell Wilson today. Like, you don't have to worry about reading about it, hearing about it from your agent. I am giving you the answers to the test. If you do not sign by close of business today, you will be reading that Russell Wilson is a Steeler, and you're either going to be backing up J.J. McCarthy or you're going to be in MetLife. And let me ask you a question, Aaron. When was the last time there was a Giant quarterback since Eli Manning that went to the Giants and it worked out well? So the decision is happening today. We love you. We want you, but we have to run our team in our best interest, and we're giving you all the information.
Mike Tannenbaum, you can see him on Get Up, a variety of programs, NFL Live and Sports Center. What are the Cleveland Browns doing?
I think for them, it's a little bit different. I think that's a little bit more about stability. Look, Jameis Winston, let's be gracious here, inconsistent last year. I think for them, they need optionality. If we were speaking 3 weeks ago, I think talking to people around the league, I think Tennessee was going to consider moving on from Cam Ward. That's not going to happen. They went out and they signed Dan Moore. They moved J.C. Latham to the right side. They signed Zeitler. Everything they're doing says they're taking Cam Ward. So if we're the Browns, Russell Wilson at least gives us a step up from a consistency standpoint over Jameis Winston. It's a consequential year for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. So, to me, they're just looking for stability, and that's what Russell Wilson brings.
Okay, but would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson if you're the Browns?
100%, it's Kirk Cousins. If we go back to Minnesota, where Kirk Cousins had a ton of success for a lot of those years, Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator. Right now, the Atlanta Falcons have told Kirk Cousins and his agent repeatedly, you're not going anywhere. On Sunday, he has a $10 million roster bonus that becomes guaranteed. It's next year, but it becomes fully guaranteed. I'm just telling you, Dan, bringing it inside a franchise, if a player doesn't want to be there, you don't want him there. Everything is about Michael Penix in Atlanta. And if Kirk Cousins is saying that I don't want to be there and I'm not going to be in the offseason program, I'm going to show up late, be the first one to leave, go out and get a Drew Lock or a Jacoby Brissett as a backup and cut your losses. We've seen great franchises like the Rams pay, Jared Goff over $100 million to move on. We've seen the Eagles pay Carson Wentz over $100 million and move on. And I think you show me a franchise with good mental toughness, I'll show you a good franchise. And that's what Atlanta needs to do with Kirk Cousins.
Which situation do you like better quarterbacking-wise, the Raiders with Geno or the Seahawks with Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by Seattle and Sam Darnold. I think, first of all, that was masterclass GMing to get 7 years younger, less expensive, and a third-round pick. Do I think Geno Smith arguably may be a little bit better than Sam Darnold? Possibly. But I think Smith and Jigba, if he was on the East Coast, we'd be talking about an emerging star at receiver. Clearly, they're going to have to add another piece or two there. Offensive line has to get a little bit better. But the fact that Clint Kubiak, their new offensive coordinator, knows Sam Darnold from their San Francisco days, I think is meaningful.
We had Steve Young on yesterday, and he said that there's some organizations that are stuck in the Stone Age. I'm going to paraphrase that unless you're part of the Sean McVay tree, Kyle Shanahan tree, Andy Reid tree, then you're in the Stone Ages when it comes to offense. Those guys understand what is the future in the NFL and certainly at the quarterbacking position. Your thoughts on that?
I think, that is somewhat true. It's interesting going through this Jet head coaching search. We talked to a lot of people, learned a lot. And some of the feedback we got from the defensive coaches was fascinating. And the trend in the league is, looking at shifts, motion, all the pre-snap movement. It does put, logically, as you would think, it puts pressure on the opposing team's defense. Like when the picture is static, which some classic quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, they want the picture to be static. They want to collect information. But the more you talk to defensive coaches around the league, all those things that teams do, it just puts pressure. Like, Dan, you're a former athlete. Like, when you have to think, you're not playing as fast as when you're just reacting. So I think there is something to it. Now, to shift in motion, just to shift in motion, like that doesn't really accomplish things. But I generally agree with Steve. I think the other thing too is it's not a one size fits all approach. If you have a backup player in who's making 1/20th of a starter, which happens a lot in our system because of the salary cap, you have to plan accordingly. If your backup tackle's in, you have to chip. You have to slide protections. You can't put the backup left tackle on the same island that you can, Trent Williams or fill in whatever blank. And I think some coordinators understand that concept better than others.
I'll leave you with this. If you ran the Titans, if you were the GM, what are you doing at the top of the draft?
Cam Ward, and Cam Ward. I think the most impressive part about the combine, Dan, was what the University of Miami offensive lineman and teammates said about Cam Ward. I'm a big believer in life is who you really are is how you treat people that can't help you. Cam Ward was a selfless leader. He has what it takes. I think his intangibles are off the charts, and they shouldn't answer the phone if someone calls him.
Great to talk to you. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Mike Tannenbaum, former general manager with 2 teams in the NFL, and pretty high praise there with Cam Ward going number 1 overall.